committee. So you would imagine, you are sitting with over 100, you have got to make sure that by the time you move into a physical space, you could be able to protect lives in that way and do not expose members of the National Executive Committee. Until we know that it is sufficiently safe to do so, and we have got a venue that can be able to take the National Executive Committee in the manner that we can maintain social distance. Remember, the ANC ought to be seen leading from the front when it comes to the fight on COVID-19. That's why the discussion on COVID-19 and vaccination is always standard on all our agendas. Well, everyone, all members of the National Executive Committee who are expected to attend the NEC will attend this NEC. We have never come out as spokespersons of the African National Congress to really start reading out the attendance register of those who will be attending meetings. Safe to say that everyone who is expected to attend this National Executive Committee meeting will attend the National Executive Committee.
What is the status of the Secretary General's membership?
He's a member of the African National Congress for as long as I could recall. If there are issues that requires us to be updated on his membership status, such would be brought to our attention when we go into the National Executive Committee. We will be receiving reports. We will be receiving reports on the work that shall have happened from the time that we left the NWC till now. Any other matter that has got to do with anyone of the members of the National Executive Committee, such will serve before the National Executive Committee. And if there are outcomes coming out of that meeting which require us to come and talk to yourselves, we shall certainly do so, like we've always done in the past.
Right. I'm asking, will the ANC Secretary General be allowed to attend and participate in the NEC meeting this weekend?
Let me repeat myself. Everyone who's expected to attend this National Executive Committee meeting is going to attend.
Does that include SG?
We have never come out talking to the media and read out the attendance register of those that attend meetings of the NEC. Samkelo, in the past, Mbali, I think even Bunte, they've asked me whether it was about President Zuma. We have answered, we have given the same answer. Whether it was about Thabo, President Mbeki, we have given the same answer. So it would be unfair and unfortunate that suddenly, in a briefing of the African National Congress, we start going through attendance registers. So respectfully to the media, anyone and everyone expected to attend the meeting of the NEC will be in that meeting. If there are any developments that require us to talk to yourselves on the attendance register of the NEC, we shall do so.
Just clarity, the letter that was sent to the SG, the suspension letter, it says that it will not allow to be part of party activities. This also forms part of your party activities. Just for clarity in that sense, will he be allowed to attend that NEC meeting?
Remember, Mbali, we will be getting all those reports. We will be getting all those reports, including correspondences that were out and all of that. I am sure that you might be talking about a letter that you picked up through some leaks and all of that. I don't remember the ANC itself issuing a letter to Newsroom Africa or to any other media house. So the ANC NEC will receive reports on the work that shall have happened from the time when it concluded the National Working Committee till now. Anyone and everyone who is expected to attend this National Executive Committee meeting of the African National Congress shall attend in that way. If there are reports or developments that ought to be brought to our attention, such will be registered to us in this meeting that we are going to.
Is the Secretary General today performing his functions as Secretary General of the ANC?
Let me now repeat myself. When we get into the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, we are going to receive reports. These reports would now include the work that we said must do from when we rose out of the National Working Committee. Remember, there are things that we said must be done when we left the National Working Committee. We said if there are those of our cadres impacted upon by decisions of the National Executive Committee taken on the 26th and the 29th, such cadres would have to be corresponded to. Where such cadres are at the national level, they will be briefed through the national machinery. Where such cadres are at provincial level, they will be briefed by their own provincial machinery. Where such cadres are at the regional level, the same would also happen. So we are now going into this meeting. We are going to receive all of these reports. If there are any other update that needs to be brought to our attention, such will also be done in this meeting.
Let me just thank you so much. I understand that you're constrained by the fact that the meeting is coming up, which has to process a number of issues. But directly, again, is the membership of the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa currently suspended?
We did say, and the President repeated this when he was answering questions yesterday in Parliament, that there was correspondence we saw, which the Secretary General had confirmed that he had sent to the President. We had also issued a statement where we said we will deal with such correspondence when we get into the meeting of the National Executive Committee.
Can I come with Goatmeat to your house, Mr. McKay? Can I come with Goatmeat to your house, Mr. McKay?
Speaking to other media houses earlier this week, we saw the Secretary General saying that he will be appealing his suspension, following that letter from the DSG. When it comes to him appealing that suspension, is that something that will form part of the NEC meeting?
Well, if there's any issue that requires discussion at the National Executive Committee in that way, including the correspondences, either that shall have gone to the Secretary General or that shall have gone to the President in the manner that we have picked up in the media, and with some confirmation, of course, we will be able to veer in and discuss those issues and emerge with a position when we come out of the National Executive Committee and be able to communicate to yourselves like we always do. I mean, the greatest benefit we've given to all of you, which we rarely do, was to sit with yourselves in this way and share the agenda of the National Executive Committee, so that there are no issues leaked out there that presupposes something else. The ANC ought to come out and speak for itself on issues that concern it.
On your answers now, it's not clear whether the membership of the Secretary General and the President is suspended. And while you say that you'll give us answers after the NEC meeting, this does create an impression that the ANC at the moment appears leaderless. What is your comment regarding the implications of this?
Well, it's not. Well, it's not true, Gavin. I think you are trying very hard to look for blood. You know, I know that in the media they say when it bleeds, it leads, but that is not really the situation now. You know, the ANC has got a leadership. President Cyril Ramaphosa is the president of the African National Congress. So there's no crisis in terms of that. Where there's been correspondences issued out there, the ANC will reflect on those. And the African National Congress requests that it gets to be accorded the space to deal with those issues and once it has reflected, come out and communicate. The ANC is not shy to communicate even the most difficult decisions that it takes out to society. At the end of the day, when the ANC rises from its own meetings, it has got to make sure that its message is one that resonates with the unity of the entirety of its membership.
So who's the Secretary General at the moment?
You know that the Secretary General of the ANC elected at the 54th National Conference is Ace Magashule. So there should never be confusion about that. Remember, even stepping aside itself does not impose unelecting leaders. There's never been an intention. The stepping aside doesn't say we are unelecting leaders. We have only said, because when you step aside, you are not stepping down. The resolution coming out of the 54th National Conference, dealing with the credibility and integrity of the African National Congress, presupposes that when members of the African National Congress are facing serious charges, they should then, and indicted in a court of law, they should then be accorded the space to step aside, deal with those matters. The terms of conditions now set up through a team led by our Treasurer General, Comrade Paul Mashatile, suggest that monthly you should report to your secretariat and that every 6 months there should be a reviewal of sort. So the ANC is quite clear in terms of how it executes and carries forward its decisions. So it's not fair, it's entirely unfair to suggest that the organization we lead is leaderless. I mean, we have brought you here at the Revolutionary House to come and clear all of these issues and share with you our agenda.
No, I just have one more question. The conditions of suspension, are those conditions adopted and approved by the NEC before the NWC meeting this week? Or the conditions of suspension, were they formulated by the NWC?
Well, there is a team led by our Treasurer General that was tasked to do that work. So that work has been done. The National Executive Committee will be updated on the status of all the different tasks that had to be performed in the intervening period. I mean, the NEC rises and say, yourselves as the National Working Committee, who deal with the day-to-day running of organization, go and attend to all of these issues. Come back and report to us on how you have gone, how far you have gone in terms of the implementation of decisions.
Is it correct that any communication issued to members of the ANC regarding the step-aside decision would only be valid once it is endorsed by this weekend's NEC?
I don't even want us to get into that because this is when we are trying to build an angle. We have already, so I give the NEC the space to process issues. The NEC will come out and communicate its own positions. You see, we shouldn't preempt what could be the outcomes of the National Executive Committee. We have told you that we are dealing with the Integrity Commission reports and the setting up of the appeals panel. We are dealing with the implementation on resolutions on step-aside, local government elections, organizing and campaigns, report on the parliamentary processes on Section 25 of the Constitution, update on COVID-19 and vaccine rollout. I mean, it should concern our people on how far our government is in terms of rolling out vaccine to help us fight the pandemic. I mean, if we see what is happening in India, all of us must be worried. Our people want to know at what point and when are we going to finalize the amendment of Section 25 so that they could be given their own pride, which is land, expropriating land without compensation. Is the ANC ready for these local government elections? How are we going to be campaigning and all of that? It's quite critical so that we can share with yourselves our thoughts in terms of the work that we are doing. Our own BBGMs, organizing and campaigns is doing quite a lot to make sure that organization is not constrained by the COVID-19 situation.
Some NEC members are on record before the meeting saying they are preparing for a fight. I'm specifically talking about Tony Ngeni. And I don't want you to respond to that, but the mood ahead of the meeting seems to be quite tense in the ANC. What's your response?
Well, I do not think that there is any tension in the African National Congress. I must put it to the media that it is yourselves who invite individual members of the African National Congress who are not even assigned to speak on behalf of the ANC, allowing them to express their own views, which might not necessarily be a reflection of the views of the collective. That is done by yourselves in the media, because sometimes you are doing this looking for angles. Comrade Tony Ngeni and all those that I've seen you interviewing are not spokespersons of the ANC. The ANC, in its NEC of 2018, adopted communications protocols. And these communications protocols empowered the national spokesperson of the ANC, who shall have been appointed by the NEC, to be the only person outside the national officials who can pronounce official positions of organization. So the comrades you have been speaking to, who are not necessarily national officials of the ANC, they were reflecting their own personal views. Official views of the ANC are articulated and pronounced upon through a statement that you issue. So if you comrades are having level, if with the ANC, it's you guys just having, if I'm not going to entertain small talks taking place in newsrooms with leaders of the ANC. The real talk of the ANC is held with the national spokesperson and officials on official matters of the ANC. Any other things that you comrades are doing must know effective from today. Those are conversations. Yes.
My last question to you, has the SG reported to his office throughout this week?
What?
Has the SG, Ace Magashule, reported to his office throughout this week?
I'm sure you've got these numbers, Mbali. You are welcome to. I mean, I speak on behalf of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress. I don't speak on behalf of individual leaders of the African National Congress. I just told you about the protocols of the ANC. So a self-respecting organization like ours, where we know who performs what responsibility, do not police individual leaders of the ANC. I am here at Lituli House doing my work. I come to work all the time. When we don't come to work, it's because we could be having a COVID case or a detected COVID case and they need to decontaminate. We were told that yesterday Lituli House is closed with some misinterpretations running out there. We are here. You are finding us here at the office.
Are you able to share with us, Kule, the amount of your members who are facing criminal charges you have stepped aside so far? We know of course, Mike Mabuya Kule's KZN. There's also one in the Northwest. Are you able at all to share that information with us?
Mbali, we are going into the NEC. We have already told you that if there are issues that affect provinces, provinces will report on those. I'm not a spokesperson of provinces. Some matters would involve provinces. I'm at liberty to speak about matters that involve us at a national level. And once we have received a report over this weekend, we shall be knowing where we're going.
Yeah, you've covered it. I mean, my main question was, is the SG going to be at the NEC? You're saying that you're not going to disclose that.
No, I said to you, anyone who's expected to be in the meeting of the National Executive Committee will be there. We have never spoken to yourselves about the attendance register of our NEC.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
You're right to say that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, no, thanks for coming.
No, thanks, man. Nice, man. Today on fire.
Huh? No, is it...